Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano Fundamentals, and, bet you can't guess, also Jazz Piano Fundamentals Level 2. Get those books at my site. Also, before I forget, you can join my remote jazz class that I teach through Fullerton College. There's more information at jeremysiskind.com/jazz class. What I want to talk with you about today is creating a different harmonic context or a different harmonic world for different arrangements in order to make them special. And of course, we're coming to December, so we're going to do some Christmas music. We'll work on White Christmas today. And what do I mean by harmonic context or harmonic world? I mean that different styles of music create different harmonic expectations. They have different tolerances for dissonances, different common types of chords, and different rules of the road. One of the things that this means is that you can get away with a lot of dissonance in a certain kind of style, and maybe less in another kind of style, right? You could also potentially start in one style, and if you change, it's going to be really shocking. Now, so I think one of the things that happens really often is that jazz musicians have an automatic harmonic context. And I think we got a lot of this from Bud Powell and Bill Evans. And of course, I have zero bad things to say about those guys. But, if I'm going to play, let's see, how does White Christmas go? Here it is. Sorry about that wrong note. So I would call this a jazz harmonic context, and we're going to keep a little bit of track here. And basically what this means is that every chord has a third and seventh. We're adding lots of ninths and thirteenths and pretty sounds to our minor and major chords. We're adding in lots of alterations to our dominant chords. And, if I all of a sudden in the middle of that added a triad, it sounds really shocking, right? Because that is not part of that jazz harmonic context. It makes it sound wrong. But we could start in a different context. We could start out in a triadic context. And you could associate the triad, of course, with classical music if you wanted. Some kinds of rock music as well, if you want. But it could be, instead, and let's see, I gotta reload this program. I'm a professional. There we go. And now I'm gonna go into jazz. So that works really nicely, right? If you start simpler and then you get more and more complex. But you can see I was mostly playing triads there. And now triads aren't shocking, right? Because that's just the water that we're swimming in all the time. We could also choose like a modal harmonic context. And modal enjoys dissonance a little bit more. For instance, we could try like making it mostly mixolydian, like. One thing that makes something sound modal is that there's not a bunch of 5-1 progressions. So if we start in a modal context and I'm playing, let's do Dorian just to make it different. going to sound modal anymore. Put in that 5 chord, now it's not going to sound modal. So to me, probably the definitive thing about making something sound modal is you're having an absence of dominant chords. I think contrapuntal could also be a harmonic world. And contrapuntal, yeah, I spelled it right? So contrapuntal meaning that we're going to have a lot of lines, melodies that are overlapping in order to create a harmonic tapestry. So instead of thinking, top down, Now, I think there's a fair argument to be made that contrapuntal is more of an arrangement technique than a harmonic style, and we could have very traditional triadic contrapuntal style or very dissonant contrapuntal style. So I think that's fair, but I do like to include it in this category because it inspires things that are similar to what these harmonic styles inspire. Atonal, definitely a harmonic world, right? And atonal means that we're really privileging dissonance. We're not trying to create a sense of tonality, home, or consonance. So atonal, if you're really missing home for Christmas, sorry for that wrong note. Watch, I'm going to go into triadic. Back to atonal. And if you're like, wow, this sounds bad, why would you ever play atonal? A lot of what Chick Corea does is bordering on atonal, somewhere between modal and atonal, maybe. One of the things that came up right then that was kind of interesting was a different version of triadic. This version of triadic, I would assume, is matching, really trying hard not to create any dissonance. But you could have triads that don't match. And you hear this in kind of modern fanfares. I associate musicians like Copeland doing this kind of thing. But maybe... So what I'm doing here is I'm in the key of E flat, but I'm choosing totally different triads. Kind of funny. You could also make harmonic worlds that emphasize certain scales or modes. For example, the whole tone scale. If you do the entire piece like this, it's probably going to get a little bit overly repetitive, dull, static. Also the octatonic. So whole tone scale. whole tone scale almost always brings a sense of mystery, or the octatonic scale. Speaking of Chick Corea, very octatonic heavy player. I went back to whole tone scale by accident. Right. It's maybe a slight exaggeration, but I think you could almost say that any of the great, really memorable pieces, any of the great, really memorable musicians probably create their own harmonic world. So I would encourage you, if you love Waltz for Debbie, that has mostly triads plus some interesting triads in inversion. And how would that work? Right. So think about these harmonic worlds, and it's going to get you out of that rut of always playing a ballad or a solo piano piece the same way. Because as you can see, in this list, and it's, not that big of a list, it's a very partial list, there's already so many ideas of how you can enter into a piece. I hope you guys really enjoyed this session. If you did, comment with world building, and check out my books, always on sale, always a great gift, at jeremysiskind.com/shop. I'll see you later, everyone.